I hope this message finds you well. I was doing some reading in the text of A Course in Miracles, and chapter 4, the title of that chapter is The Ego's Need to Confirm Itself. I'm going to tell you what this is about, and then I'm going to come back to the subject. So it states that I'm going to paraphrase, that in the spirit's knowledge, it is unaware of the ego, while the ego is equally unaware of the spirit. But the ego perceives itself as rejected by something which is greater than itself. Okay, and that's paraphrased, all right? So at the level of spirit, and I've spoken about this in other videos, at the level of spirit, what we would call wrongs we commit in this life, in this human experience, are not visible. They don't exist. This would correlate with the ideas that the human experience is a dream. It's an illusion. Some quantum physics touches on this. This idea that we're living in a simulation. All of these things are actually one and the same. They are entangled. A Course in Miracles speaks a lot about this being the dream or the illusion, this human existence, this life we think we're living. And it says that we never left our home, which is in heaven with God, and all of these things. And it also, says that in the Bible, it says that Adam slept, and there was never a reference where Adam reawoke. So, I am a believer in A Course in Miracles in the sense that I do believe that it was channeled from Christ. I do believe that it is a wonderful way of deprogramming the mind. And this is what I'm going to touch on today. So based on this statement in the text, lately, just yesterday, I stumbled across a podcast called The Joe Rogan Experience. And in this podcast, I know that I've seen this gentleman before, and I think I was put off by something he was talking about. I don't know, or the mood or the temperament, or there was something there I was put off by. But recently I have come back to this because he had given some interviews, conducted some interviews of some people of interest to me. One was Elon Musk. I have heard a lot of things from both sides on Elon Musk. I've heard some really kind of crazy things that people have said about him in the spiritual community, like, the word demons was mentioned and things like that. And I have always had, I've always felt good about Elon Musk, and I don't know why, because I'm not into electric cars. I'm not into those things, but I personally got the sense that there was something benevolent about him. Even though he's got all this money and he's seemingly powerful and influential and all these things. And I'm going to come back to this. So I watched this interview of Elon Musk, and I also watched the interview that Joe Rogan did with Donald Trump, and I really liked it. And so, it's just these two guys talking about whatever comes up, it seems. Talking points, or even just how the conversation weaves itself in and out and flows, and, whatever it does, it does. And they're just talking about all these things. And then I read in the text today this statement, which I paraphrased about, at the level of spirit doesn't recognize the ego because to spirit it doesn't exist. It's an illusion. It's not real. So spirit can't acknowledge it. Like it can't even see it. Again, if we go into the scientifics of the things that are not visible to the human eye, we can expand on that understanding that there are things going on around us all the time that our human eyes cannot detect. Doesn't mean they're not there, doesn't mean it's not happening. It means you can't see it with your human eyes. There are eyes that see, though. Okay, and this is something I just heard, not really heard, but was just given as a message is there are eyes that see. They're just not the human eyes, okay? So that would be like Christ's vision, that higher level of sight that isn't tainted by the guidance and perceptions of a world in darkness. Thank you. Okay. So here we are. We have this statement from A Course in Miracles, and I've watched these interviews, and reading this statement sent my mind into another realm, let's say, where I was seeing things from different perspectives. And this is something that limits the human experience because our perspectives are based on the lenses and the way we filter everything we see and hear. And those filters, I call them filters, but it would be like a direction of focus would be a better term. How your experiences focus your attention, what you pick up on because of the experiences that you've had, or your conditioning. So the conditioning from the human experience sways or focuses our minds on certain aspects of the dream or illusion that's going on that we are partaking in and participating in. So back to this. We have this statement about that the ego is equally unaware of spirit, but it perceives itself as rejected by something which is greater than itself. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is in watching these interviews of successful people, and when successful, I mean they have been successful in the world, okay? It occurs to me as I'm reading this statement that could it be that the most successful people here are just less influenced by conditioning into lack and limitation, conditioning into the expectations of others, conditioning into fitting into a box that has been assigned to them by society, by family, by whatever? Or is it that they have been conditioned to expect excellence? They've been conditioned that they don't have any other choice but to excel, because this is the way their mind has been conditioned, that failure just isn't even in their purview, that they will always have a solution to whatever problem comes up, right? So as we look at the different levels of experience here and the field of infinite possibility available to each and every one of us, and knowing that our conditioning weighs heavily on the experiences we choose from the field of infinite possibility, is it possible that these people have just been conditioned to not know anything but success, achievement, accomplishment, And another thing that brings this up today is there was a time in my life, it was very brief. It was very brief when after the shutdowns, after the COVID lockdowns, and I was working at a salon and the salon reopened. I was in a state of mind, and that, state of mind. I was in a state of mind that I was so joyful to be able to go back to work. I was so inspired to reconnect with people that I hadn't been able to see during that time. And, my clients had become my family, and that was how I saw them. They were my family, like this closer than family group of people that I got to spend a couple of hours with every month or every, 6 weeks. And it was something that I grew to look forward to. And I didn't realize how much I looked forward to it until it was not available to me. Anyway, I had this sense of elation almost. And I can remember the day, and I can remember it didn't last long because the fear that was evident on the faces of everyone I saw, because now so many were terrified to be among the rest of us because of what had gone on there, that even though we reopened, the way I explained it back then was like, it was like if a cat has never been bathed, and this is an adult cat that's a couple years old, and you try to put this cat in a bath full of water, the cat, I see the cartoon figure of the hair standing straight out on the cat. This is what people look like, and their eyes were huge and just so fearful. And unfortunately, that worked to destroy the elation I was feeling. So, not that I'm blaming anyone, but that's just how it worked, because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be out here, but these people are terrified. And I didn't feel guilty necessarily that they were terrified, but I felt guilty because I didn't want my presence to cause that reaction for someone else. And so anyway, I digress. So back to this. I read this statement today, and all these thoughts going around like, what? And also that so many of us have been conditioned to see people with money as bad or evil, or they must be doing something bad because they have a good deal of money, Well, that goes back to this teaching that money is the root of all evil. And how many of us have heard that statement, And money is not the root of all evil. Money is just a form it's a symbol we use for trading. It's a symbol of IOUs, really, right? So it's a symbol of reciprocity when it comes right down to it. It's just a symbol. And so, but anyway, this is funny to me. And I'm watching these interviews with these people, and I'm like, well, they're just people. They're just people. And it's kind of funny because, you never know. You just never know where you're going to find others who think along the same lines that you do. Or, like your brain processes information the same way. Not necessarily do we have the same exact opinions on everything, but our brains process the same information. These are your people. When you find people that you could stand and be witness to whatever event, and the way you recall that information is very similar. Those are your people, because we have 8 billion different perspectives operating on this planet, maybe more. who knows for sure? But we have all these different perspectives operating on this planet that is bodies, human form, powered by the grace that is God, right? So we're powered by God, and our senses have been dulled down to a small point of attention that is what you believe you are as the human identity. So, but this statement opened up a whole window to me of how, the ego conditions us. And it's possible that some people just got a better ego conditioning, better meaning one that's going to serve them as greater success, greater finances, greater abundance in this dream, in this illusion. I just found it really interesting, so I'm putting it out there. I hope this message finds you well, in peace and in love. May you be blessed.